discover more about the nature of reality and help create a better life for yourself and the rest of the planet. My name is Icke and I've created a process called Draw Your Reality. For more information, you can go to my website, nikkipalmer.com, and receive a free gift that I put together just for you.
Another interesting thing about Saturn, talk about Saturnalia, this obsession with Saturn. I mean, the Saturn god of the Jewish religion is El, Israel, Elohim in the Bible and all that. And you know, in the books over the years, I've highlighted the whole concept of massive cataclysms in the solar system, which completely change the locations of entities like Saturn. And it kind of sounds crazy because it's different. The idea that Saturn was a son of the Earth, that the Earth had a dual two-sun system, the one we know now, but also Saturn that was closer and the dominant body in the Earth's sky, and which was the period of what's called by the ancients the Golden Age. And that the memory of the cataclysmic events that almost did for the Earth, and did for Mars in terms of how it is now compared with what it was before. You know, the science sees everything in terms of phenomenal amounts of what we call time. So they accept that, you know, Mars was devastated, but it was like an extraordinary amount of time ago. I say it wasn't, and you know, other people in the past have said it wasn't, and have got the treatment, of course, from the mainstream. People like Immanuel Velikovsky. Velikovsky wrote a series of books in the 50s, 60s, in which Worlds in Collision was one of them, in which he proposed from his research that this great cataclysm, one of the effects of it was to have an enormous explosion on Saturn, which basically turned it into what it's become. And the location launched it into where it is now. When it was before the major dominant body in the Earth's sky. And, you know, people might ask, why so many ancient societies worshipped Saturn? I mean, if Saturn was always where it is now, well, why would people worship Saturn? You can't even bloody see it, hardly. Just a dot in the night sky among so many other dots. But it became a focus of religion and the god, and not least in Rome. And Velikovsky suggests that the earth water, earth seas, came from Saturn as a result of this. It's just a story he describes in detail, obviously, but it's a story of chemical reactions and goodness knows what else that produce the earth water. And where I'm going with this is that it's now been found that the water in the rings of Saturn and on the moons of Saturn is the same, basically, as the water on Earth. And that, according to the physics of the two bodies, that should not be. This is a quote from Physics.org, or Phys.org, about this information that's come to light. It means we need, it says, to change models of the formation of the solar system because the new results are in conflict with existing models. Models for the formation of the solar system indicate that the chemical balance of this water should be much higher in the colder outer solar system than in the hotter inner system where Earth was formed. And over the years, as I've been writing about this, of course, I go into Saturn in very great detail in some books. The information is being teased out gradually that this idea, which sounds so incredible at first hearing, it may not be as incredible at all. Deuterium, this physics article says, deuterium is more abundant in cold molecular clouds. Some models predict that the DH, deuterium hydrogen, should be 10 times higher for the Saturn system than on Earth, but the new measurements show that this is not the case for Saturn's rings and its satellites, except for one, the Saturn moon Phoebe. So we are, again, and if you go to davidicke.com and you put in the search engine blockbuster Saturn-Earth connection confirmed, you'll be able to read more, and there's the video about this by a physicist called Wallace Thornhill, who's been with others challenging the official story of the solar system for a long time, and indeed the nature of the reality in terms of its electrical basis. So yeah, it's interesting to, as we go along, to see more and more confirmation for even the more extreme things. I found this article here, which is talking about Velikovsky, and just to give you some background to what he was saying in relation to Saturn. The Venus and Mars catastrophes of worlds in collision are only the latest in a series which, according to Velikovsky, involved every planet visible to the naked eye at one time or another. Critiques of the world in collision scenario began appearing even before its publication in book form. This may have something to do with the fact that Velikovsky never finished the books describing these earlier catastrophes, because they make worlds in collision look pretty tame by comparison. Someday his executors may release the manuscripts of Jupiter of the Thunderbolt and Saturn and the Flood, because of course the Great Flood, of course, was actually all part of this whole solar system upheaval that affected the Earth. So anyway, chief among what he said was the Great Deluge, which Velikovsky ascribed to an explosion of the planet Saturn. It's actually a sun, which he called a nova. It is conceivable, he said, that the Earth was at that time a satellite of Saturn, afterwards possibly becoming a satellite of Jupiter. Shortly after the explosion, the Earth was enveloped in clouds of water or of hydrogen gas ejected from Saturn, which precipitated as the flood. And there are ancient legends and stories, not least in the Zulu belief system and oral history, of this fantastic rains. 40 days and 40 nights of rain in the Bible, if you remember. Anyway, the volume of water on the Earth was vastly increased. The Atlantic Ocean came to be only after the deluge. This newly acquired water was said to be warm. It may have been rich in chlorine. Chlorine may thus be of extraneous origin. In this catastrophe, as in later ones, all volcanoes erupted, which again, as I've detailed in some of the books, you find this absolutely consistent story all over the world in ancient accounts of the time the Earth nearly died, when there were great catastrophes that mountains just launched out of the Earth when the Earth turned over, which would have caused dramatic consequences. The volcanoes were going off everywhere. When you get people looking today at the geological story of the Earth, and then you you play that against the oral stories from ancient societies around the world, they sync in the most amazing way. And like I say, this is just another example of how things that seem fantastic turn out to be not so fantastic after all when you put the evidence together.